of character in that respect.
Yes, you're saying that we've probably given him more credit than is due, because to an extent I agree with you. He seems to be this kind of person who's very reactive, not very well thought out. He doesn't think of the precipitate actions that will follow. He's clearly not very strong on geostrategy. But you're also absolutely right. In fact, that's the question I had put earlier in the day to Anis Farooqi, who's back with us, that Justin Trudeau takes exactly the opposite stand when it comes to the Chinese. He said Chinese officials may be individually involved, but you can never blame Xi Jinping. You can never blame Beijing. You can never blame the Chinese state. The Chinese state cannot be involved in manipulating the Canadian elections. While he admits there was manipulation, he draws a clear distinction between Chinese officials and the Chinese state, which is exactly the opposite of the stance that he has taken with India. On the breaking news story, we have the senior executive editor of the Republic Media Network, who follows the Ministry of External Affairs, the Prime Minister's office, and the highest echelons of the Indian government very, very closely. You will find this interesting, Daniel. Abhishek, how are we viewing this? You see, I think we have been taken a little bit by surprise by the way Trudeau's been behaving. He behaved very weirdly in the ASEAN. He was weird in the ASEAN, and we found his behavior absolutely childish and weird, because he literally tried to accost the Prime Minister of the world's largest democracy down a corridor, forcing us to make a public statement saying there was no such meeting. So can you tell us what he did in ASEAN and how this links up with what he's done today? Well, and what are we planning to do from here?
Well, Arnab, so far as ASEAN is concerned, India made it absolutely clear that there was no talk whatsoever of any substance between the two leaders to warrant the kind of statement that Justin Trudeau has had made. So you are right, he was churlish, he was childish, and now it has become full-blown irresponsibility and breaking even news, a mischievous conduct on the part of the Canadian establishment, obviously egged on by their Prime Minister. Remember, for the first time perhaps in India's diplomatic history, we have named and shamed the Prime Minister by calling out Justin Trudeau's very personal hostility against India in the statement that was released early in the day, following which, of course, we issued a demarche and told the Canadian Charge d'Affaires in New Delhi that calling out India's High Commissioner's name as a person of interest is a crossing of a red line, and there would be consequences, following which we have recalled our ambassador. And while again continuing with the mischief, the Canadians are trying to present a picture, or no, that they are expelling our diplomats even as we have taken the decision already. And remember, while it was day here, it was night in Canada, and they don't work at night in Canada. The announcement has come only 6 hours after India has already taken a decision. So obviously,
which means they don't know how to deal with it. You see, no, 1 minute. What this proves is that the Canadians expected us to go slow after their action and open up some line of communication. Whereas you see, they don't know how to deal with a Narendra Modi government. You know, we pull no punches approach. We have just sacked their diplomats, brought back ours, pushed the ball into their corner. And Abhishek, let me tell you this. I have been speaking to so many Canadians, if it's any dipstick, while, all of them are not fans of India, and they do feel that we're a very strong country that wants our way in everything. That's the kind of sense we get. But they are no fans of Justin Trudeau either. Most of the people I've been speaking to from Canada feel that Justin Trudeau has not thought this out. They've not thought this out. So probably India is also aware of this sentiment in Canada. He's not gaining any fans in Canada for behaving like a trapeze artist on such issues. So what's our next move, Abhishek? What do you expect tomorrow morning?
Our next move is concerned, I spoke to some of the contacts in the Ministry of External Affairs, and they say that this is just a beginning, and we will match the steps. A red line has been drawn by India, and every time the Canadians cross that red line, there are going to be consequences in terms of diplomatic steps taken to, not only just match the steps, but to make sure that there is pressure on the Canadian side to not indulge with this pro-Khalistani sentiment, as a consequence of which, Arnab, very interestingly, I can see for the first time perhaps the Deputy Chief of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police perhaps has made an admission for the first time that there are pro-Khalistan elements in Canadian society. Remember, earlier they would only say Canadian citizens and freedom of expression. Tonight they are saying South Asian community and specifically members of the pro-Khalistan movement. And they have also said that India is also facing extremism and violence, and we are going to work together. So there is already a subtle climb down building up. The Canadians are blinking, and they are going to be the first one to blink, because remember, they are on the wrong side and they know it in their heart what they have been up to with all the protection.
And the other thing is that the entire political establishment of India, the entire population and political establishment of India on this one is strongly behind Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Mr. Pekin, I had opposition leaders on my program, which is the most watched program in the country, and they all came and they said, we may have political differences, but we stand behind Prime Minister Modi. Canada has gone too far. That's not the sentiment I get from Canada. But tell me, Mr. Pekin, this group that is this extreme jihadi Khalistani